Welcome everybody to our April 3rd special Board of County Commissions meeting. If we could all stand for a moment of silence and then remain standing for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Welcome. We're having another special meeting today to discuss COVID-19 and Governor DeSantis' Safer at Home executive order issued yesterday. We're going to hear an update from our Director of Emergency Management, Michelle Jones, and we will also discuss what Executive Order 20-91 and 92 means for Martin County. Safer at Home is basically an enhanced version of social distancing. It directs residents to limit their movements and interactions outside of their home to obtain or providing essential services and participating in essential activities. The list of what is essential is long, but you can still do things like going to the grocery store, picking up medication at the pharmacy, taking your dog to the vet, or going to doctor's appointments and caring for a family member. The goal is to make everyone more aware of how much they are venturing outside their homes and urging them to limit those trips. So please continue with our stay-at-home efforts, washing and sanitizing methods. I know staying in your home can be challenging, but it's extremely important for the health of your family, friends, neighbors. Stay at home, stay safe, stay connected. Okay, with that, I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Krista.
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. So I just, for the boards and the public's to know where we are as a county, as a government, as our operations. So back in March 12th, we began holding our unified command meetings relative to this situation. And then, we went through, there's on a daily basis having different things, press conferences. We declared the local state of emergency. We started our virtual EOC operations. We closed our water park. We looked at our community information center. We opened that on March 18th. And then for county operations, we have closed them for walk-in traffic for the most part. We have closed them to the general public. But we've put in place procedures to assist us relative to our bid openings that would continue and those kinds of activities, even as simple as receiving the mail. They place it outside, we go and get it, and then we distribute it accordingly. So we've also staggered our work schedules. So we as a county continue to operate and do those activities that are considered to be essential for our public and making sure the county continues to be effective. And then we've also, in the office environments or those enclosed environments, we are adhering to the social distancing. We've reduced our staffing in the office to less than 50%. We have our employees who can working from home, et cetera, et cetera. So we began this effort more than 2 weeks ago. So I think that as a employer, you all are in fairly good shape from that standpoint. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that. Our website has all the updates on it that are available. We've put the governor's executive orders on there. We have all the health department information on there. So we would encourage those that can to please utilize that. And we will continue to update that information as best we can. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so can Michelle come up and give her...
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. Since we last met, the Governor has issued the Safer at Home order effective today, April 3rd through April 30th. We do ask all residents to take this executive order very seriously and to stay home if able. Every resident and visitor can make a huge difference in this fight against COVID-19 by choosing to stay home, choosing to maintain social distancing guidelines, and choosing to go to the grocery store once a week to replenish supplies and not hoard them. Their choices matter. Since our last update, the Martin County School District will remain closed through May 1st, and the district has moved to a digital instruction plan effective March 30th. Our nonprofit partners continue to serve this community by providing financial assistance, food distribution, unemployment assistance, and resources for our seniors and veterans. The Business Development Board continues to assist businesses navigating the state and federal loan programs and assisting in identifying which are essential. We continue to partner closely with the Cleveland Clinic and the Florida Department of Health to maintain those updates and keep the community informed. County-owned boat ramps are now closed, and all state-owned uplands, such as beaches, islands, sandbars, emergent shoals within aquatic preserved, are closed. Vessel landings are strictly prohibited. Information regarding COVID-19 continues to be available on our website, martin.fl.us/coronavirus, our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, through Alert Martin or push notification, which folks can register for by texting Alert Martin to 888-777. And then our community information line stays open daily from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
What's that number? What's it, Martha Ann? What's the number for the hotline?
287-1652.
Michelle, I do have a question. I was on my first Zoom video conference last night, a town hall that was put on by the NAACP. One of the questions was that I couldn't answer. Do we, on that line, do we have different languages represented that can handle?
So we do have one member of the community information team that is able to speak Spanish and provide translation services, but we will also be providing them with access to our language line, which provides translation services for up to 200 languages.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Michelle? Thank you. And Ms. Woods.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm going to briefly and hopefully succinctly kind of summarize what the governor's executive order and what it requires and how it affects us. This order was issued on April 1st. As I was sitting at my desk drafting our Safer at Home declaration, the first section of this, it basically has 4 sections. The first section talks about seniors and those with significant medical conditions, and the message there is, and I'm quoting, shall stay at home and take all measures to limit the risk of COVID-19. Second category that the governor sets forth is everyone else is limited to obtaining or providing essential services or essential activities. The next section, section 2, defines what essential services is. This is a very complex definition. The first attachment is a Department of Homeland Security document that sets forth essential critical infrastructure workforce. It's multiple pages and in fairly small font. And I want to stop myself here and mention that the governor's order is available on our website, and all of the governor's executive order attaches all of these documents that I'm talking about. So you can find all of these on the county's website. I think you could probably just Google it, but they are available on the county's website. So we have the Department of Homeland Security document, and then the next category are businesses and activities designated by a previous executive order, which then attached a Miami-Dade Emergency Order 0720. That's a fairly lengthy document, like you've seen for a lot of our other Safer at Home local documents, and it sets forth a long myriad of essential activities. There's 3 amendments to that document, so you kind of have to go back and forth. You can't just simply turn the page. The third component of the essential services, the governor provided that the state coordinating officer can add essential services, and the state coordinating officer is directed to have an online list of essential services, which should be available either on both the emergency management website and the Department of Health website. As far as we know, only the
Division of Emergency Management.
yeah, there are not any, we have not noticed, and I haven't looked at it this morning, but there weren't any additional services that have been listed on that website. But to my point, this is a work in progress, and so your staff will be monitoring that at all times to see if anything is added. Another section of the order makes it very clear that the individuals are encouraged to work from home. We then go into the third section, which is essential activities. And the order defines essential activities as attending religious services, participating in recreational activities, and it gives consistent with social distancing guidelines, walking, biking, hiking, fishing, running, or swimming, taking care of pets, and caring for or otherwise assisting a loved one or friend. And again, as with essential services, there's a clause that indicates that the state coordinating officer may add to a list, which also should be contained on both the emergency management websites and the Department of Health's website. There's an additional section that indicates strongly that social gatherings in public places are not essential activities, and that local jurisdictions are supposed to ensure that there are no groups greater than 10 permitted to congregate in any public space. The last provision, which has been amended, but I will say when it was first issued, it appeared to give local authorities an ability to pass stricter guidelines on the Safer at Home. Subsequently to this order being issued later in the evening, the governor issued Executive Order number 2092, which stated, and I quote, "This order shall supersede any conflicting official action or order issued by local officials in response to COVID-19. Our interpretation, those of my office and many attorneys, is that this is a preemption clause that stops us from implementing any regulations greater or lesser than what the governor's office has provided. However, during the course of the evening on April 1st, the governor's office issued I think it was a statement that provided that golf courses were open under the order itself. Golf courses were not mentioned, but golf courses were allowed to operate, assuming that they operated under social distancing. So, of course, we pivoted and understood that that was the order. And again, as we get guidance through the governor's office, we amend what our stance is. I can tell you, I was grateful to receive a call last night from the Executive Director of the Florida Association of Counties, Ginger Delegal. We talked, and we are not in a different position than anybody else. We're all trying to figure it out. It's uncharted territory. We're doing our best to make reasonable interpretations, those that carry out the overall purpose of flattening the curve, and that's what we'll do. And as soon as we get any guidance from the state, we'll implement it, and we'll do our best to put it on the website and distribute that information to the media as we get that. Right now, as I speak, there's a big conference call going on with the Florida Association of County Attorneys to try to work through, some of the questions about what this means. And again, like with any legal document, it's the devil's in the details, and it's all how you interpret what the words mean. We'll endeavor to try to carry out what the governor's intent was with the words, and to, again, give you a reasonable interpretation of what this means. Another thing that we are doing, both Taryn's office and mine, is working very, very closely with our neighboring counties to try our best to make sure that there's a unified message amongst all of our neighbors and that we kind of speak with the same voice and have the same recommendations to try to flatten the curve.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
First of all, I recognize that the governor's order says that all senior citizens, those over 65, shall remain at home. That doesn't mean you're in prison. That means that you still can seek out medical care, groceries, all those things. I saw some people yesterday who thought that order meant that they were trapped, and you're not trapped. You need to carry on and keep yourself as safe as possible, but stay at home as much as possible. I also think that the interpretation and exemptions the governor's order we're going to see a lot of changes in the next month, however long, this lasts. So I think that this creates a special need to have daily, predictable updates. We can't continue doing this piecemeal the way that we're doing it. We need to have an update daily. It needs to be at the same time every day. We need to cover whatever changes have occurred, whatever messages we need to send out. I recognize that there was, with our updates, that a week ago there was a sunshine complication. That these 1:30 call-ins are just not cutting it. No offense to the health department, but just getting a report from the dashboard for some officials at 1:30 each day is not giving us enough information. People need to get a broad range of information, and we need to be able to ask questions. If you need to eliminate the commissioners who are under the Sunshine Law from asking questions, fine, but allow others to ask questions. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get answers.
Well, Commissioner Hurd, we have implemented internally 2 specific updates daily at 1 and at 7 based on the noon and the 6 updates from the...
And how were those disseminated?
We're putting them out on our website. If it's essential information, we would do a press release, like with the boat ramps. We're making sure that, I'm not sure what mode of communication you would prefer. I mean, we can, for residents,
If we could do it on the radio, if we could do it on TV, let's make sure that people have information, because it's so confusing. This conversations that we've had and the changes that we've had and the pivots that we've had about golf courses is just bordering on the ridiculous. Every day we get new information, and every day it's a little bit more confusing. Do we have the ability to close down the golf courses? Is St. Lucie County, is Indian River closing their golf courses?
No.
No.
Okay, well, but the social distancing, there are guidelines, and if a golf course is not following those social distances, what enforcement action can be taken?
Well, you do have the sheriff with us here today.
Great.
We have been trying desperately. I mean, I have all the orders here from even Miami-Dade, and you get 2 orders issued at the same time on the same day, and then 2 days later you get another order, and 2 days after that you get another order, and the governor references those orders, and then the governor put out, and this is, it was frustrating for us, he put out this major order, which was the 20-91, had a huge press conference, we were all aware of it, and then later that evening, he issued the 20-92 and posted it on the website. So if we're not, and we are constantly watching his website, but Ms. Woods, until noon yesterday was not aware of that order. So
That's because the website notice isn't...
No, that's his website.
I know.
Yeah.
That's because that's not enough.
So
We can't rely upon having to take the initiative to go to somebody's website in order to get direction. We have to be able to, we have to be quicker on our feet than that. We have to be more predictable. We have to be disseminating information. This is going to change every single day, and we need to provide reliable updates every single day and not just posting them on our website, because a lot of people don't have access to computers and they're not going to be able to find that information. We're going to have to provide it some other way.
Well, if we're not being notified as a government entity from the governor's office, I mean, I have staff, diligently trying to go to his website to see where that communication is. I think, so for us, it's a constant, like Ms. Wood said, this morning I went on the Division of Emergency Management's website to see what those guidelines were that are referenced in his order, and was able to print it out, but it's exactly regurgitation of this other information that's in here. So I'm not sure, because they're not disseminating that information to us as a government entity in any other shape or form. Like Ms. Wood said this morning, her attorneys, all the attorneys in the counties are on a conference call. All of our county managers are on a conference call at 10. So we're as frustrated as you are. I mean, I hear it in your voice and I appreciate it. But if I don't know how to we're not plugged in like that with the governor's office. I don't know what other mechanisms are available to us, but we'll surely reach out. I sent an email to Ginger Delegal this morning from FAC as well, saying we need an answer on the golf courses, and we need it in writing, because we are getting slammed here in Martin County, and the commissioners are getting hammered with these emails. We did reach out to the one golf course that we could control because we have a lease agreement, which is this Champions, and we got a communication back in writing from them that they hear us loud and clear. They will do the social distancing. They will only allow 1 cart per person. They've deleted tee times so that they can accommodate the number of carts that they have. But aside from that, the private golf courses, unless we close the golf courses, which according to the latest order, we are not supposed to be doing anything that's in conflict with the governor's order. And all we have so far is a verbal, somewhere the governor apparently said it verbally, that golf courses were an essential activity for recreational purposes. So we're still trying to figure that out.
Well, I go back again to the social media and websites. Those things are inadequate information dissemination, in my opinion. We need to do more. We need to be more predictable, and we need to figure out a way at some time every day to be able to talk about the new changes that we're seeing.
Well, we've had the chair do some infomercials, I've been calling them, and we've not been doing those routinely every day, but we obviously can start doing that.
I just want to clarify something that Commissioner Hurd said. There was not a sunshine violation.
Can you speak up just a
Oh, I want to clarify something, and I just to make it clear in case anybody heard that. There was not a sunshine violation. My concern on the call-in, which is something that we do during hurricanes as well, was that once various commissioners were asking questions, that the unintentional and inadvertent issue would be that some information could be transmitted. So it was in an overabundance of caution, which is how we operate in Martin County, that we would stop people from commenting on that or asking questions on that call, in order that we took everything beyond any doubt that wasn't being done. So
And there is a way that we could email the questions in and they'd be
yes, sir.
approached.
There is a way. You can email the questions into the emergency management director, and that way we avoid even the suggestion that there had been a sunshine.
But now all that we have is a call in that's open to some people, and there is a report of the state dashboard, and no one is allowed to ask any questions. No one is allowed to comment. That's inadequate. We're not getting any information. We have to be able to interact.
I'm not arguing with you, Commissioner, but I will say that in this situation, it's really uncharted territory. So we never know when we're going to get an update or when there's going to be a press conference. Like I said, I was sitting at my desk back and forth with Indian and St. Lucie counties, working on our own safer order, and then out of the blue came the statewide order. So I appreciate the need for updates, but even if we had, and perhaps we could, have a daily press conference, if there's something breaks in this additional executive order came up, I guess in the middle of the night, but we didn't know about it until in the morning. Nobody knew about it. It just popped up on a listserv that somebody found. There was no publicity about it. So we'll try our best. We commit to try our best to make sure that everybody knows everything as soon as we can. I know that Taryn and I have tried. I've sent you, as things develop, we sent emails to all of the commissioners to keep you updated. And we renew as well as to the communications team, and we commit to do that as well. We're trying our best.
Sending emails before the meeting, and then if a question is generated through the meeting, we have a meeting the next day that I'm okay. Commissioner, are you done? Commissioner Kane, yeah, okay. Ladies first. Commissioner Heather.
I wasn't none of you.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were.
But no, it seemed to work. So I just will share the same sentiments, and we've talked about these in private, and I think that our staff is doing an amazing job for the circumstances. But this is a national emergency, so we have a staff that would be regularly communicating out, and we are not equipped at all. When we looked at the LOSUM, we added team members because we knew that it was something that we had to commit more resources, and I think we have to commit more resources in order to accomplish daily updates. I think that we certainly need daily updates, and not only do we need daily updates, we need to be able to decipher that information, and I understand that you're going through it every day, and we're getting questions as elected officials. I mean, I can't tell you how many questions I got. So can I get on my boat yesterday, or can I not get on my boat? What if I have my boat in the water? We need a spokesperson that will get out, that works with emergency management every single day. And if that means adding more resources right now, a part of this national emergency, I think that we should move forward with that as quickly as possible. And then on the order, some of the things are just seem like they're conflicting. If the first section says senior citizens shall stay home, and then we have golf courses are open, not saying that only senior citizens play golf, but if you shall stay home, but we've got our golf courses packed, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. And if you're following some of the dashboard, and I know not everybody is, but if I go to do my email update, yesterday, the day before, we were at over 7,000 cases. By the time I did my update the next day, we were at over 8,000 cases statewide. By the time I went to update it last night, we were at over 9,000 cases. And I thought, why in the world would anybody want to be out playing golf or doing anything else? The order is to stay home as much as possible. And it doesn't specify beaches. I mean, we've closed our beaches, but the order doesn't say whether we should keep our beaches closed or open our beaches.
Commissioner, I think beaches were referenced. Yes, beaches were referenced. So in the governor's order that he issued, the 20-91, he references all of Miami-Dade, etc., and beaches are referenced in there when you go to that order. The beaches became problematic for us, particularly just like the golf courses are.
I agree with you that you think that if you could social distance on a golf course, then you certainly should be able to social distance on a beach, miles of beach. But obviously that didn't occur.
Correct.
I think it's questionable whether it's going to occur on the golf courses. but it sounds like that last order superseded any local control of managing some
Well,
of these
if you
things.
take the interpretation of this latest order, yes, the counties to our south should not, at this time, in our opinion, have their beaches and parks and golf courses closed, based on this latest order.
They should be
Not the
closed.
not the
Should
beaches,
not.
the golf
No,
courses.
but nothing can be more strict than what the governor
Right,
has
but the-
issued.
But the
beaches are in.
The beaches, we've debated this back and forth amongst the legal staff, and we're taking an interpretation that the county has a right to close its own facilities, that's because we own them. So the beaches that are closed, when we close them, were done under the public beaches, excuse me, the public beaches were closed. And the same way with our
Boat ramps.
parks or boat ramps. If we had, now, boat ramps in the governor's order, it's a complicated kind of a maneuver, but if you go through the three amendments and the Miami-Dade order, you will find that they don't allow boat ramps except for commercial fishermen. So I believe our closure of boat ramps is consistent with the governor's office. Likewise, I believe, all of the counties believe that the closure of beaches is consistent with the governor's order because, as Ms. Krista was saying, the previous four-county executive order closed the beaches or validated the closure of the beaches in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Monroe. So I think that goes back to our point of we're trying to make reasonable interpretations of things that protect our citizens and not to look at things. I agree with you, Commissioner, that and as Commissioner Hurd mentioned, the senior citizens, which isn't defined, and whether or not they could ever leave their house, I don't think we would ever take a silly interpretation to make it seem unreasonable. So we're doing our best to.
But it clearly says you should stay home.
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
No,
even if you're not a senior citizen,
I
stay
agree.
home as much as possible. You know,
Yes.
I did have some grocery managers reach out to me, and they were concerned that whole families were coming in and shopping, and that it wasn't appropriate that, you know, one family member, if possible, you know, understanding people have different family dynamics, but if possible, to send one family member to the store and shop. He was also concerned about folks wearing gloves and this false sense of security that it might provide, and for them to continue their hand washing. So that was directly from the grocery. And he also said, of course, that they are going to continue to stock, and there is no need to panic and run right out and clear out the shelves. But I guess just one final thing is I just agree that we need to have these constant daily updates, and I think that we're going to have to add more resources, would be my opinion, and add them under emergency management, and somebody that can do daily briefings to our public.
Okay, Commissioner Campy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, while I'm hearing my colleagues bring up all these important points and hear from staff, I've been trying to just write notes so I can keep my thoughts straight, which I'm assuming everyone's been trying to do lately. So we touched on several topics. I had a couple of points that I wanted to make, but I want to pivot to what Commissioner Hurd brought up and then Commissioner Hetherington did about information. I think, you know, most of us are old enough to have lived through, sadly, several national tragedies. And the biggest one that could potentially be somewhat compared to this would be September 11th in 2001. However, that was more of a regional or an East Coast issue. It didn't have the ripple effect across the entire country. Although people were sad, it didn't affect the middle of the country and the western coast as much as it did on the East Coast. This is different. But back then, and I was in New York City then, back then, that breakdown or lack of communication is a lack of information, okay? And when I believe, and I say this all the time, we can create what I consider an information vacuum. And the public, especially in times of distress, and stress need information. And so they're desperate, and it creates this vacuum. If we don't feed in accurate, timely information, especially now with the advent of social media, other sources will. People are desperate for information, and they cannot sometimes differentiate factual from misinformation. And misinformation then turns to confusion, which turns to frustration, which turns to anger. And I think we're heading down that path. Not through any fault of our own. We have experts. Imagine, we have hundreds of employees that can accumulate and decipher all the information that's coming out of Washington, D.C., that's coming out of Tallahassee, that comes from the medical community, that comes from our surrounding communities. Okay, so I think the concept, Commissioner Hurd's right. There are plenty of people in our community that are not on social media or technologically savvy. So although majority of our citizens are in some form or another, especially younger people, I believe that's where they get all of their information from. The print media still plays a very important role, and the televised media, which I will say we've been very fortunate to have our share of coverage up here in Martin and on the Treasure Coast, even though the big markets are south of us. I am appreciative of the televised media that's been covering our situation here. The advantage of TV and social media is it's in real time. Commissioner Hetherington was saying how quickly those statistics are changing. I've felt the same thing. It's hard to even remember what yesterday's number was because they're changing so rapidly. So a couple of suggestions. Because at the end of the day, we can stay up here and talk to each other, but we should be giving you some suggestions and let our colleagues decide if they agree or not. I think there is a possibility, because there's still a large percentage of our population that reads the printed newspaper every day. So just like if it's newsworthy and we put out a press release to the Stuart News and any other media outlets, printed media outlets, the Stuart News at least is daily versus some of our other newspapers that are weekly. Okay, weekly news is really old by the time they print it, sadly. But let's create some kind of an agreement with the Stuart News that every day, in the same location of the newspaper, we print a little update. The statistics, maybe the dashboard, little things that are either happening or going to potentially happen. And let's put it in the exact same spot, page 2, bottom right corner, whatever the case may be. Work that out with the Stuart News for the people that are going to get that information that way. They have to understand that that information could potentially be 24 hours old. But I do agree that our social media and our communications team is trying every avenue. I see the updates. Commissioner Jenkins did a couple of them. I think we all filmed something. Even those, unless you're filming it and airing it the same day, those can also become quickly obsolete. Mine was about stay calm and things are going to work out, but when I did it 2 weeks ago, the situation is a little different now. Okay? So with that in mind, I have also, and I don't apologize, because I have been reaching out to my own constituents in my social media platforms. I think all of us have a social media platform. I have received great feedback that is helpful for a lot of people. I personally try to put out some generic information that would not violate our sunshine. I don't say, I will be voting on this, I don't believe in this position. I'm just putting out information because those of us, I have an advantage, I hear from you all, and then I disseminate that information. The other problem with information is the vast quantity of information. I receive emails from the state and the federal government like my colleagues do. If I open it up and it's 38 pages of information, I do not have the ability or the time to review 38 pages of information. And maybe the important part was on page 14. So I try to boil that down. I know that my colleagues have done the same thing. So I'm still going to continue to do that. I don't think that that's a violation. I think it's another way for people, especially in my community, that know me and know that I will, like my colleagues, have reached out and boiled this information down. I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, there was an email going around that looked very much like a legitimate news article that the FWC was going to starting yesterday, ban all boating and fishing and anything like that on the water. It looked very legitimate, so much so that I forwarded it to our staff to find out if it was true or not. And then quickly someone said it wasn't. But I'm telling you, it looked very professional. So even for those of us that are in the know, it's hard to understand what is real and what is fake. Okay, so the first portion of this morning's meeting is discussing how do we get the information out to our people. I think we have a strategy. I do agree that our communication staff could use some additional communication staff and maybe take that team, the collaborative team, and break them down into different segments of what they should be handling. If you remember our first meeting, I made a suggestion, it was purely a suggestion, that each of the 5 of the commissioners take on a specific portion of this issue. Now, I understand that that was the first time people had ever heard of it, and it didn't get a lot of traction, but there are certain categories. None of the 5 of us can be up to date on every single topic, but we could specialize, okay? I want to put the golf course and the boat ramp issue back a little bit. So that's the first thing, to hear from my colleagues on how we think we need to get this information. In a crisis, everyone wants information. I think we've done a good job of putting it out there, but we have to constantly raise that bar and change it on how we're going to do it. And then I'll yield till we get to the rest of the topics. Thank you, sir.
Okay, well said. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do my best to speak in the mic. Sarah, maybe you could help clarify again for us, just I think a little bit about, because even what you said, and I appreciate that both you and Taryn are as confused as we all are confused. The Miami order that was in place up until 2 days ago, has that been superseded by the governor's new order?
I don't.
Because it says all counties, so does that mean, and the reason I ask that is because Miami-Dade has, I say Miami-Dade, South Florida has a different set of standards, or had a different set of standards than we all have had. Until yesterday, allegedly, that now we all are operating under the same standards. So the reason I ask that is that if this new order supersedes all previous orders, does that include Miami-Dade and South Florida? And if it does, did that reopen the golf courses in South Florida? Because part of the problem that we've experienced up here is that we have had a shift of golf players from down south up here. And that will continue to be a problem. So,
I understand the question. The executive order is specific. 2091 says, this executive order does not supersede any executive order related to COVID-19.
does or does not?
Does not.
But then but then 92,
But 92 says this order shall supersede any conflicting official action by local officials in response to COVID-19. So the answer is it does not supersede the governor's other orders. So my interpretation of the language, but I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, no,
it's
I just-
minute by minute,
So-
yes. So yes.
Can you say it one more time so it's really clear for us?
I do not believe, under the statement in the first governor's executive order, which covered statewide, it does not supersede the Miami-Dade, Broward, South Florida one, because it says generically it doesn't supersede any other orders. On the other hand, the reason... 92 talks about local orders, not...
I'm sorry,
That was
I'm getting more confused. I apologize.
Okay, let me go
as you're
back and I'll
speaking.
explain.
Let me just give you 2 seconds, if you don't mind, Commissioner Smith. 91 was the original order that everyone heard about, where he was asking everyone to say stay or safer at home. And then there was a certain, that he wasn't going to override other local municipalities' decisions, correct? Then 2092, Executive Order 2092 came out late that evening, and if you just read that sentence where it says, this is to clarify what my 91 executive order was, and then if you just read that one sentence, it says that 92 does supersede all local governments.
But
But
we're
it's
talking
referred
about two
to-
different things. We're talking about Commissioner Smith's question was, does it supersede the governor's executive order, which I believe is 89, that was issued last weekend, or maybe on Monday, actually, on Monday, that applied to the 4 southern counties? And the question was, did the governor's executive order that applied solely to the 4 southern counties, was that superseded by 91? And my answer was no, because 91 says...
But 92 is the question.
92 only talks about local, local officials,
Sarah.
not governors.
Sarah, so try to clarify it at least. So had we passed Wednesday what you were all working on writing for a local order for Martin County, had we done that and had this board voted on that, 92 would have said that's no longer in place. We have superseded all local law.
Correct.
What it doesn't say, at least as you were explaining it, it does not say that it supersedes the prior executive order for South Florida.
Of the
Correct.
governor.
By the governor.
Ed,
What makes it even more...
do you understand that?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so-
what makes it even more confusing, to your point, is that 89 order incorporates some local government orders. So it really, it is very confusing. It's not just us, it's everyone. Everyone is confused.
So for our operational standard, at least as we understand it today, we are operating under either 92 and or 91.
Both.
Both.
Yes.
And really irrelevant to the 89 order, which was for South Florida, because that took on 4 counties, and they're specifically a whole nother issue. For the rest of us, for the other 60 or 63 counties, we're under 92 and 91.
True, but I do want to caution everyone, there's a reference to 89 in 91. And I know I'm getting into the weeds with this, and that's why, we're reaching out with Florida Association of Counties.
The reason why I keep pushing on this
Okay.
so that we're clear is we can be clear today with our residents. Use the golf course issue as a perfect example. I think a lot of us, if not all of us, have received calls. They sort of fall into 3 categories. Shut them all down because they shouldn't be open. Limit them to only residents and owners of the private golf courses that exist. And 3, don't allow any non-residents or owners to enter a gated community that has a semi-private course. And so for those 3, at least 3 categories, the calls that I have received, what they're trying to understand, and as we try to, at least as I try to explain to them, South Florida has a different set of operational standards than we have, at least as you just worked through that analogy. Now, you did throw in a little kicker that it was mentioned in the later ordinance. I get that. But generally speaking, we can't rely, or we can't, not rely is not the word, we can't use what's going on in South Florida. We have to use 91 and 92 because that has superseded all local government ordinances or orders that have either been thus far or today.
Correct.
And as it stands, so that everybody's clear, because we will get continuing lots of calls, and this is one of those things that whether it's Sarah or Ed or Stacy bringing this whole communication thing up, our golf courses are going to be open.
If I could just kind of add a little bit to that. A private golf course in a gated community, if they want to shut down their golf course, they of course could. They would have their right. The issue is, what I want to make clear is, we cannot shut them down under our emergency powers.
Right, and that's the
under way
message,
that-
Sarah. I'm
yes.
trying to make sure that we are abundantly clear when we leave today.
Yes, we cannot.
We have not been given authority.
Correct.
Nor has the governor taken the authority to shut those courses down.
Well, yes, the governor has issued through a press release or through a spokesman late on April 1st that in fact the intent of the order was to allow golf courses to remain open, and that the state, you're right, that the state was not shutting down golf courses because they were viewing it as an essential activity, as I was mentioning earlier. It falls into the category of an essential activity. I can tell you that in my office and with Taryn and her administrative staff, we spent hours trying to noodle through this, and we understood that all golf courses were shut down. Then the governor issued his order or his statement through someone in his office, and it said they were open. But yes, as of today, right now, this minute, we've been advised that the governor has not shut golf courses down. But part of the statement was golf courses have to observe social distancing.
Absolutely. That part
Yes.
is perfectly clear. Okay, let me shift gears a little bit.
So we can't go further.
Let me shift gears. Ed suggested some things that we should do is take away things from this meeting. One thing I think with the hourly or half-day updates that are occurring from the state, I think we should ask or reach out to Ginger at FAC and ask her as the association to reach out to the governor and see if he would be willing to do a once-a-day update with the attorneys, the county attorneys and the administrators of the 67 counties. I don't think we want to open that up to all the elected officials and everybody else. It'll just get way too cumbersome, but at least if the 67 attorneys and the 67 administrators had an opportunity to get an afternoon briefing from the governor, and I don't mean from the governor's office. I don't necessarily think that a spokesperson is, you all need to hear it from the person who's doing the orders, I think. And then to Sarah's point, I think somewhere in late afternoon, which might help all of us some, the informational updates that we get, and not so much how many cases did we have today. I don't think that's really what's driving the calls that we're getting. It's more, can I do this? Can I not do this? I got a call from an office yesterday saying that St. Lucie County had said, not county folks, people in St. Lucie County had said, Martin County had shut down all of its marine industries, meaning its boat builders, from boat building. I said, absolutely not. We have not, as local government, shut down anybody's business. But that's the kind of crazy, I think that's what Sarah's alluding to. I think that's what Stacy and Ed are alluding to. I think we need once a day to have the ability to get that informational update on that kind of stuff. So whatever the rumors are, whatever is been bantered out through the course of the day, and if there is a way, and Sarah, you can tell us whether we can or cannot do this, if the commissioners can all be on the call but not comment, but you are feeding us all the same information so that it's not interpreted by Sarah one way, Ed one way, Harold one way, Stacy and Doug one way, I think that would be incredibly helpful. And I'm not talking the numbers from the hospital. I don't think that's doing anybody any good. There are numbers people, fine. I think it's more to this stuff. How do we deal with the golf course question of the day, whatever that question is? And that if you two can push out to us what that sort of informational updated stuff, whether it's governor's information, whether it's the health department's information, whoever, that's important stuff, if something has changed, because I don't know how the rumor mill happens. I guess it's social media that punches it out there. Mm-hmm. But once that rumor gets going, it just goes like wildfire, and then we are asked to interpret what we understand. Now, one answer I've been giving almost everybody that's called me, and especially over the last 24 hours with the governor's order, is like, look, I don't have an answer for you right now on the golf courses. This is what we understood on Wednesday. This is what we understood on Thursday, but give me 24 hours to give you an answer. And to the person, everybody has said, okay, that's fair and that's reasonable. I mean, to our public and to everybody that's calling, they have been great. You know, people have not been disrespectful. They have not been hateful. It's more like just people want to know. And how do we punch that information out is all that they're asking for. The other thing I would just, what was interesting, and I think, Taryn, you might have read the list of some of the essential things. Pools, like association pools, there's nothing in the order that shuts down a homeowners association pool that I heard.
That's correct.
that
In
I
fact,
heard
he
you say.
references swimming.
Correct.
However, like the golf course thing, if a homeowners association feels that they should shut it down, they have the right to do so within their bylaws, I assume.
Yes.
Yes.
Last thing, shoot, I'm sorry, I lost it.
We'll come back.
I'll come back, thank you.
Commissioner Hurd.
It sounds like we're getting somewhere, which I'm very pleased about. So we all agree that there is a need for daily updates. I think that we need to expand our MCTV staff, our outreach staff. If we need to add additional resources, then this is where to put them, and we need to fill those positions immediately. I think that a daily, late afternoon works just fine. Daily update from MCTV telling and I agree with Commissioner Smith. It's not so much how many of course, include how many COVID infections there are, how many deaths there are, but that's not the critical.
That would be a screenshot.
Yeah, but information, changing information is what that report needs to cover. It's probably a 5 or 10 minute report every single day until things break around here. Also, I think that I also strongly believe that 1:30 teleconference call is extremely important, but the way that we're doing it now is not helpful whatsoever. We need to return to how it was before, which is there are all the constitutionals, there are our federal and state representatives. Representatives are on the line, the health department's on the line, Cleveland Clinic's on the line, school board's on the line, and people are able to give information and get information. And if you need to gag us, by all means gag us. So I want to listen, but I don't need to ask questions. But I think that the people who do need to ask questions should need to be able to ask questions. Now, so the governor's order has requirements for social distancing. If, for example, at a golf course, and by the way, we don't have any intention of closing our parks. They are open. Please use them, but practice social distancing while you're using them. So if social distancing isn't being practiced at either our public spaces or private spaces, golf courses, what enforcement action can be taken?
I have to,
I was actually, when we were done with this, the sheriff and I had a discussion a couple of days ago about his attendance at this meeting, thinking that we were going to be talking about a lot of different things than what we're talking about today. He is here, and I was wondering if he could maybe come up and
Sure.
talk about what Commissioner Hurd was speaking, and maybe an opportunity of what his boat patrol is going to be doing this weekend.
Harold, while he's coming up.
Oh, go ahead.
Sheriff, also too, if you'd be willing, and just if any of us have any questions for you, if it's okay, can we ask a handful of questions? Thank you.
Commissioner, Chairman Jenkins, Commissioners, Madam Administrator, good morning. And I'll be delighted to try to answer as many questions as I can.
enforcement, Sheriff, enforcement of these,
Social distancing requirements in the executive order. If these public places or private places are not observing, complying with the social distancing requirements, what enforcement ability do you have?
Our sense is from the governor's order that notwithstanding the fact that certain activities are still allowed, the social distancing mandate by the governor is in place. So whether you leave golf courses open or not, or open beaches or not, or Publix or not, whatever it is, we believe we have the authority to encourage people to keep social distancing. And that actually we have several levels of response. Our first level would be a friendly contact. Like, let's say we got a call at a golf course. I just throw that out because you're talking about golf courses. We go there and there's 15 people at the fourth tee. I may be saying that wrong. I don't golf, but wherever there's 15 people and they're having cocktails in the middle of the day. They would be legally allowed to be at the golf course, but not legally allowed to have 15 people having a cocktail party. So if we got a call, we could go out there and we could say, you can't do this, please move along. We think 99.9% of the time the people will comply with us. If push came to shove, at the very worst, we actually do have authority under the emergency order by the governor. We're empowered by state statute. There's a statute for it to write a notice to appear, which would be our next level, and that's a second-degree misdemeanor. They would have to sign that. It'd be the same as an arrest as far as their record, but they wouldn't be going to jail. And the next level would be, if that failed and they still didn't comply, we have space, bed space at the jail. That would be our last resort. Our message to the community is now is not the time. It's just now, for the time being, some of our liberties are curtailed. And we're really hoping for voluntary compliance.
That's great clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, question for the sheriff. Sheriff, thank you. I did read online that a resident was arrested yesterday in downtown Stewart, I believe by the City of Stewart Police, for inappropriate behavior involving COVID-19. And I know that you had a sheriff's deputy that had also an issue. Can you remind people how serious a nature this is, and that if they think they're being comical or funny? Right. This woman was live streaming for, I guess, some social media boost, but if I'm not mistaken, she's now in jail, correct, sir?
If she hasn't bonded out, she would still be in jail. So my message, Commissioner, to our public would be, there was a time when you could go to an airport and joke about just about anything, and it wasn't inappropriate. And then after a certain time, words like, I have a bomb, I have a knife, I have a gun, things you could say in polite company, you could no longer say at the airport, or a TSA agent would take you out of line and you would be in trouble. That's the same thing today. My men and women, Chief Schobel behind me, fire rescue personnel, we have a challenging job on a good day, but you mix in an extremely virulent virus that does not a respecter of persons, and you have a powder keg for, first of all, for illness, but also for getting yourself in trouble. So this is not the time, if you get arrested or you get contacted by the police, to say something like, I have COVID-19. That will land you in a special cell in our jail, completely isolated from the rest of the world, and there's no air exchange. You can breathe, but you can't breathe on the rest of the jail. It won't be a fun time.
Thank you, sir. Another question I think that's very important for a lot of residents. We're having this issue back and forth on whether or not our boat ramps are going to be closed, and I think where we stand today, the county's actual boat ramps are closed. The first point I would make is that the reason we can't keep our boat ramps open and differentiate between Martin County residents and other residents, I think there's a great amount of confusion that these boat ramps are built and funded through state funds and federal funds in many cases, and we do not have the ability to differentiate between our residents and residents from other counties. So that being said, we're in a boat ramp closure thing. However, marinas and private boat ramps in communities and people that have boats docked behind their homes are still allowed to be legally out on the water, correct?
That's correct. Nothing in the governor's order leads us to believe that you can't be on the water in your own boat as long as you're, I think it says 50 feet away from each other.
Okay, thank you. The big issue for all of us is, and I don't have a boat and haven't been out on a boat in a long time, is the sandbar. Now, I know that last time you were here, you were mentioning that, policing the social interactions at the sandbar is difficult because even though we had closed the ramps for the weekend, except for commercial fishermen, plenty of other people still have access to the water, not just our own residents, but can come up from south counties. You still said even with the boat ramps closed on the weekend, you estimated 500 boats there. And then as your deputies are circling around trying to tell people to leave, that they were just sort of backfilling in. I would strongly recommend, and if you could share with us your personal opinion, 0 people on this sandbar, even if they're practicing social distance. I think it's not fair to the folks that are not allowed to use the boat ramps anymore, that private owners still have the luxury of being on the sandbar. Do you have the ability to make that a no-go zone?
Actually, I don't, but the state does, and the state has, and under an order by Freshwater, commission to close areas such as the sandbar. We're going to enforce that. We checked with them, and we do have the legal authority. I don't have the statute off the top of my head. So we have 9 boats scheduled for the weekend. The city of Stewart has graciously given us 2 boats. The town of Jupiter has given us a boat. And so with our Marine Patrol, we're going to close the sandbars completely.
Thank you very much, sir.
And is that just for the weekend, Sheriff?
I'm sorry, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, is that just the weekend or 7 days?
No, based on the Freshwater Commission directive, those are illegal until they rescind that order. So it will be 7 days a week.
Great.
We do believe that once we have our signage up, the signage is going into place, I think, today, and we posted on our Facebook. I will tell you, there's a mixed reaction out there. Their boating community are good, law-abiding people for the most part, and they were incensed that they can't use that boat dock. But our message continues to be, now is not the time. For the betterment of all of us, some of our activities will be curtailed.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Go ahead.
And just a general question, Sheriff, and I think I know I've had a few questions on this with this new level at where we are with the governor's orders. In terms of people being out on the road, we're going to treat them, or I'm asking, I guess, we are going to treat them as if we would treat, relatively speaking, a normal day. We're not going to enforce anything more than what you currently enforce on the road.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So you can tell your constituents that the stay-at-home order is pretty comprehensive, and that there are many allowable activities: shopping, pet care, taking care of a loved one who has trouble. We have absolutely zero intention of making traffic stops at any time of the day to determine if somebody is going to a legal function. So we think that would be completely inappropriate. We're not even sure it would be legally permissible, and if it was, I would not allow it. We're not a totalitarian government, and we're working very hard to get people to voluntarily comply. So you can anticipate no traffic stops for that, no roadblocks, nothing. Now, that being said, if you go out against the order and something happens in addition, you misbehave some other way, then your status may be called into question. You could have an additional legal ramification.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was it. Thank you.
Stacy, we all good? I just want to commend you on the video that you pushed out yesterday. That was very well done and awesome. It really was. If anybody has not seen that, please go to the Sheriff's Facebook page, Martin County Sheriff's Facebook page. It was really good. I did too. So, but thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, if I could just end with this, because I have the mic. I would really love to compliment your county administrator, Taryn Krista, and your attorney, Sarah Wood. Although I'm a standalone constitutional officer and fight very hard to maintain my independence, I do find myself in a time like this checking in with Sarah, your administrator, Taryn Krista, often. She is the silent voice of sanity, I think, sometimes.
Not that silent.
Behind the scene. I do hear her up here. I was thinking, whoa, Taryn is at it. But
Thank you, Sheriff.
let me just finish. She absolutely is the maestro for us all. You know, it is the one point in all of it that everything coalesces around. And I, for one, cannot imagine going through this without her calmness, her deliberation, her team spirit. I mean, she's so open to suggestions and thoughts, and I listen to her. And I work directly for the voters like you do, but in a crisis like this, I do take some marching orders from your administrator. So thank you, Taryn.
You're a smart man,
Sarah,
Sheriff.
so much.
Absolutely.
And you all have a huge job. I would not want your job. Thank you for what you're doing. This is not easy. You're going to please half the people half the time and make everybody else hate your guts the rest of the time. And the people that support you today will turn on you tomorrow. So good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Motivational
Yeah,
Thanks, Sharon.
all right.
I did wear my star today, just
There you
saying.
go. Yeah.
You know, since we're giving out those kind of comments, that's a two-way street, Sheriff. We are incredibly lucky to have the relationship we have with all of our constitutionals in Martin County. It's not like that in all 67 counties, and especially with our sheriff. So again, to you, sir, thank you for all you do for us, but also the relationship we all have. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not like that in around our local counties. We are very blessed. Okay, so are we,
Well, on the tail end of that, I'd also like to thank all of our county staff and the sheriff's staff, as well as the constitutional officers' staff that we have here in Martin County. Everybody has pulled together in this uncharted event, and everyone, you know, we really appreciate all the employees that have stepped up and helped us out. We've got employees doing things that they normally would not do on a regular basis everywhere. So it just says a lot for our county.
okay. Okay, are we ready to move on to public comment, I would assume? Okay, Mayor Karen Ostrand.
You want to hear to the 3-minute, or would you?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
It won't take me 3 minutes.
Okay.
I
Speak into the mic, please.
I first want to
You might
thank
wanna
you,
do the wipey thing before you get too carried away.
just in case.
Just as long as it doesn't take off those beautiful nails.
Yeah.
Two fell already, it doesn't matter, I can't get them fixed. I thank you all for allowing me to speak today. This is a really big concern for the town of Ocean Breeze. I have given all of you yesterday, I dropped off the letters and some of the complaints that we are getting in our town, and understandably so. I know that the borders have been watched on who's coming in, but in the Sun community of the town of Ocean Breeze, there have been many RVs coming in that are from New York, New Jersey, actually escaping what's going on up there. And it really is serious. I have 3 sons that one works in a hospital and that has problems in going in and out of there. It's horrific. But being that a lot of these people that have just purchased these homes are from that area, they are now complaining why these people are allowed with RVs, new, this is only as of April 1st, to come into our development. And we are wondering, since the governor had closed rentals, vacation rentals, and different items like that, as per, it was 2087 that was put out. He never mentioned specifically RVs, and RVs are considered homes. But they're movable, they're mobile, but they're brand new. It's just coming in with this epidemic into a community. I'm not saying anything about not having RVs, and for a temporary situation, we would like to have that stopped and ask some communities to please stop advertising that they can still come into the community. I think it's dangerous for all of us. And that's basically why I'm here, and kind of worried, to be honest with you, very worried for all of us, that the situation and how they got through is beyond me. If there is guards and military at our borders, I don't know why they're here. So I need help.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, just a suggestion, I mean, as a starting point, I would absolutely send a communication to the governor's office outlining exactly what the issue is. If it's not already covered under 91 and 92 and probably 93 today, I think what's happening with these orders is there are events like this that are happening that haven't been talked about yet because it hasn't arisen to a level of where we didn't understand that. And so thank you very much for bringing it to us. And if you would do that, I think we will
Absolutely. In
equally.
fact, we have had many of the residents actually write him. It's such a concern for our state,
Yeah.
as well as our county.
And
Thank you.
this is also an issue that I'm sure our legislative efforts are including in. So one of the things that I've been getting in emails is that we're expected, even though everybody knows that there's very limited what we can do, but we can at least lobby for our citizens at Tallahassee, and that is something that we're doing. Could you?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Two things. One, I think Commissioner Smith's suggestion for specifically Ocean Breeze is a good one, but this issue is not exclusive to Ocean Breeze. Any of our properties throughout the county that have the ability, and what we're talking about here to clarify is they have some daily or weekly pads that folks that are traveling in RVs can come in for a day, 3 days, a week. We're not talking about people that are permanently living in RV parks. These are the transient RV park, RV travelers, if you will. So although it's an issue for Ocean Breeze, it's a county-wide issue for anyone else that has properties, RV parks that do this. I think that this is another example of where clarification is necessary, because when the governor spoke of not allowing rental properties, this is like an offshoot of a rental property. And until the operators have, just like our issues with boat ramps and golf courses, if you're at a RV park and some people are permanent residents and the company runs some rental spots, you can't expect the municipality to make up their own rules, because on the other side of this could be a tremendous amount of lawsuits. So my only question would be to have our staff do the same thing that they're doing for other clarification issues on short-term RV.
And I would, Sarah Woods, County Attorney, would tell you that we've looked into this. We've talked to their staff. I've let them know, because we are preempted by the governor's order. But as a larger issue, and I won't get into the weeds on it, there are both federal, not just state issues, but there's federal issues here with the U.S. Constitution. So the same way as, and I'll allude to the same way when you saw some back and forth amongst the governors in the Northeast about letting people come in and out. So I don't want to touch it. I don't want to go into that, but this is a very complicated and much larger issue, commissioners, as you mentioned. But I'll do my best to bring the issue up and see if we have any clarification from Tallahassee.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think all that we're asking for
Sure.
is that
Yes, sir.
I think what she's asking for is that we assist at least in the asking of the question, that it's not going to go just off on the shelf, because, and if they
Got
say
it.
no, and yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up as part of my commissioner comments, but it's relevant now. And I've been inquiring about this for at least a week now. The golf course is home to at least 24 RVs at present. They've been there since after the fair.
You mean the fairgrounds, Commissioner?
Yeah.
You said golf course. I just wanted to clarify.
I'm sorry, fairgrounds. They've been there since after the fair, and the number appears to be growing daily. They are not members of the same family. We don't know where they're coming from. I don't think that social distancing is being practiced there, and it's a grave concern of mine. And I made a note of it on my way to work this morning. It's growing. The number of RVs are growing every day, of people who I don't think have any business being housed at our fairgrounds.
And Commissioner, as I've advised you, we've looked at while the county owns the underlying fee, the Fair Association has a long-term lease agreement with us, and those activities, as has happened in the past, are within their ability to do, but we certainly would be happy to reach out to them and ask them to please ensure that social distancing and other measures are followed and that they be cognizant of helping all the citizens. But I'm happy to reach out to them and try to encourage adherence to our governor's order.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to try to we are going to keep to our exact 3 minutes of comment. Kevin Fliss.
Thank you very much for your time. It's a little uncomfortable to sit here and listen to the orders from the governor be fumbled around with. I think if you read and watch his press conferences, it very clearly states a few things. I'm just going to reread a little bit of the order and then go into some details. Senior citizens and individuals with underlying medical conditions such as chronic lung disease, asthma, serious heart conditions, immunocompromised, cancer, diabetes, severe obesity, renal failure, and liver disease shall stay at home and take all measures to limit the risk of exposure to COVID-19. The second part of Section 1. In concert, actually I'm just going to skip ahead. All persons in Florida shall limit their movements and personal interactions outside of their home to only those necessary to obtain or provide essential services or conduct essential services. He goes on to state in the press conference, if you watch him, he clearly states that you have the ability as the county to go above and beyond those rules and orders in that statement he has made. So that means you can close the boat ramps, you can close the parks, you can close the golf courses. And again, if we look back to where it says, all persons in Florida shall limit their movements and personal interactions. That means everyone, everywhere. And being that we're so close to counties that are more affected, I think you guys do have the ability to supersede some of those rules and go above and beyond them. I think that what we're trying to do is not go below them, but I think you do have the ability to go above them. So please go back and watch the press conference where he does say you have the ability to go above and beyond. And then, please reach out to the governor to get the permission to go above and beyond. And then I would recommend you close the golf courses, close the boat ramps, close the parks. Let's get this done and over with. To quote some things from Dr. Lord from a couple days ago, he's the head of the Cleveland Clinic, warned earlier this week that there will be a surge in cases and hospitalizations. They're going to be conserving resources, but they're going to certainly need more with a surge. They have 398 tests pending right now. There's probably more than that as of today, with over a 2-week processing time for results. That means the data that we have today is 2 weeks old. So we could possibly have a lot more than what's quoted as the cases right now. We need to do our best to protect the essential workers. So again, going back to the governor's orders, everybody needs to stay home and only go out for essential business and activities. That being said, I need you guys to take a special look at...
Time's up, sir.
Okay, that's, thank you.
I need you guys to take a special
Sir,
look
your
at...
time-
Sir, your time's up.
Thank you.
Mr. Ranieri.
Morning, Commissioners. I just want to thank you for great dialogue today. Thank you, Commissioner Hurd, for sort of getting the ball rolling on all of this. Communication, I think, is critical for us right now. The more that you can do to use every tool in your toolkit to provide accurate and timely information out to the public is going to be helpful, especially taking note that many of our seniors and others are not on social media, not on the internet, not looking at anybody's websites. We get a lot of calls, and I'm sure I see some of my nonprofit colleagues here. We're all getting calls, just like you have constituents, so do we. So the more information that we can provide them that's accurate and timely, the more we get from you that's valid, that we can push out through our channels, that's helpful. But also any call that really we don't have to get because you're pushing out good information is helpful and lets us focus on the task at hand for our responsibilities. So we're here to be a part of the solution. I think I speak for all of my colleagues in the nonprofit world. We will happily push your information out as often as possible. A daily briefing or press conference, however you need to do it, so the media covers it, so it's on MCTV, all of that definitely will have value. I think key to all of this, too, is not just the information, but the demeanor. You have two great experts here, in Ms. Krisda and Ms. Wood. The more we can understand their interpretations of some of what's coming down, that's helpful to us as well. So we can provide that same feedback to the community that we serve. And again, it's just going to come back to communication and information. We're certainly counting on the county to lead us with that and to provide us good information that keeps a calmness. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, sometimes not so equal too in these cases. So, no information or bad information leads to panic, and that's where we lose control of the situation. So the more we can do to keep the community calm and informed, I think the better we'll be through the duration of this. So again, just thank you for great dialogue today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob, for what you do. Paul Gardner.
Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate the dialogue that you've all had with us. I think that it's important to recognize and to remind us all that our civil rights, our constitutional rights, are being violated by all of what we're talking about here, but you didn't do that. It was our governor, and our governor really has suspended our civil rights and forcing people to stay home or not be able to assemble as part of our constitutional rights. Okay. Secondarily to that is that our governor, as much as I love and support him, you cannot have a governor changing the rules, the law, daily. That's the whole reason we have a legislature. We don't have a king. We don't have a single person who can make these kind of changes. And just imagine how confusing it may be, as we talked about, to our citizens. How about when our citizens have an encounter with our outstanding sheriff's department? There's going to be misunderstandings. Citizens will have heard one thing and heard another thing, and how quickly will the new changes get out to our deputies for those encounters that they have out there? So this whole thing is a mess. And the fact that there could be confusion at the point of encounter between a citizen and a deputy is a tragedy in our society. We should not be having that, because our laws are not supposed to change every day. And they're not supposed to be changed by one person every day. Thank you.
Sheriff, did you have a comment to that? You can have as much time as you want.
I think, thank you, Commissioner. I think that's a point well made. And just to allay your constituents' concerns and anybody watching, we are actually training 3 deputies for each shift, specifically to be up to speed on this order by the governor. And if we get a call of whatever, just fill in the blank, a gathering, or something open that shouldn't, our regular road patrol deputies will not be responding, but rather a specially briefed. Training is a strong word, especially briefed deputy who understands our philosophy of minimal intervention, education, and a notice to appear as a ticket is a way last resort. So we do think that will cut down on any bad encounters, and I think the point is very well taken. And so I just wanted to address that.
Thank you. My last speaker form is Ms. Karen Ripper.
Good morning. I want to thank you all, Taryn and commissioners, for your wonderful leadership and guidance during this time. In response to these unprecedented times, we at the Council on Aging of Martin County at the Kane Center, we've activated a coordinated effort to ensure the health and well-being of seniors in Martin County. We've been caring for seniors more than 45 years, so it is our mission to continue that, especially in this time of crisis. Our services that we now have available, still have available, of course, is Meals on Wheels at the, coming out of the Kane Center kitchen. And in this time, we're seeing a doubling of the requests for those meals. So that means a doubling of the volunteers or staff. We've redeployed some of our staff from other areas to be able to deliver the meals. The Department of Elder Affairs has come out with very strict guidelines on how that is done. In fact, we just changed our process to be able to, and utilizing some of the the folks that you all have sent us from Parks and Rec, we really appreciate that. We've really changed our delivery to we now have the meals going right into the volunteers' cars rather than any congregation in the distribution center in the back of the kitchen where we give the volunteers the meals. We are also, so we're distributing about 430 meals that the volunteers take out, and that's rising every day. But our 5 senior dining centers located at the Log Cabin in Jensen, 10th Street Community Center in Stewart, Banner Lake Club in Hope Sound, Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Indiantown, and City Church in Port Salerno. We're also having drivers take meals there so that those folks can pick up their meals and go. So we've really changed all of our way we deliver the meals and certainly have put many precautionary tactics in place. Our emergency food pantry is stocked with non-perishable foods for those in need. Much of this food is also distributed to our homebound clients who are struggling to get supplies. Our 24-hour hotline is ringing, as you can imagine, and we're happy about that. And we're able to help seniors find other resources if necessary or bring them the resources they need. It may be toilet paper, paper towels, groceries, anything. Our staff is going above and beyond to get those needs met. Our case manager navigator, she was getting 15 calls a day. She's getting at least 30 to 40 calls. So you can see that seniors are scared and we need to be there to be able to counsel them, at least over the phone. Caregiver counseling, our licensed clinical social worker is talking to a lot of people over the phone and helping to allay anxiety. Since we closed our daycare, which normally sees about 100 people a day, and no one said we had to do that. We did that out of precautionary measures. It was the right thing to do. So we need to help those people that were coming to our daycare, and we're helping them in their homes as much as possible. Day Medical Center, the primary care practice is still open. When people have any type of sick complaints, we are seeing them out in the car. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all your support. I would have been here earlier, but the chamber said this meeting was canceled. So I hope.
Karen.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we're off to commissioner comments. Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Heatherton.
I just had a question. I think I brought this up on one of our EOC calls because the whole world is now working remotely. So we have virtual school for all of our children, which I have 2 at home. A lot of our county staff are working at home. And I had asked a question about the network. I'm not a techie, so I have to imagine, though, that puts a lot of strain on a network where people are now all dialing in or fibering in, and what does that look like for our organization? Do we have some kind of contingency plan if this whole network were to crash? Because we have a lot of folks working now outside. Do we have that kind of plan? Have we heard anything? Is the network, maybe there's a techie that can say that, it has certainly plenty of capacity, or are we stressing that network, and should we be concerned?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that. So when we first started back in the middle of March, having the conversation about sending our employees and letting them work from home as best they could, IT took whatever measures they needed in order to be able to expand our network. A couple days ago, we did hit a stress moment, if you will, and the network went down. Our folks were here until 2:15, 2:30 in the morning, getting it back up and working. So it's just like our television system, the Granicus and all that we use for these televising these meetings. They become stressed as so many people were trying to watch. So we do continue to expand our systems and get those backbones as strong as we possibly can. So we have taken that all into consideration. We believe that with the measures that we've taken already, that pretty much everyone who's going to be home is now working from home as we had ordered, and we will continue to monitor that. Should we have a situation where we have more people, we will have to address those as they come, but IT has been on top of this. We like I said, probably 3 weeks ago, we had this conversation, and they were getting the systems up to where they needed to be. So we believe we have adequate equipment and systems at the moment. And with the emergency order, actually, we're able to, should we need to do an emergency purchase to get more drives or, whatever it is that we need, we will do that.
Okay, I just worry about the world at large with so many people
I
now
agree.
on a network, that's the last thing we need is that network where everybody's working in, whether it be county or otherwise.
It can be at home, too.
Right.
Your
It's
system
just
at home can get...
malfunction. That's all I have, thanks.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of points. I think that these meetings are important for the folks that are at home watching, back to the point that not everyone gets their information from social media. Some people are actually tuning in to these meetings either on their computers or on Channel 20 or AT&T 99. So I just wanted to bring up a couple of points that I keep hearing questions from residents that have reached out to me, so I assume they reach out similar questions. The first one is, financially, if you are concerned and struggling, most, if not every, utility company, including the county, and mortgage and car finance companies have some policy in place that would allow for either the payments to be pushed to the back end of your term, but the concept and the fear that you might have your utilities disconnected, I think everyone has agreed that that won't be the case. If you do have concerns beyond that, please reach out to FPL and AT&T and Comcast or the county just to make sure that your situation is appropriate. I'd also want to be careful to let people know that these bills they're not being forgiven. I've heard a lot of misinformation where people think that if the bill is not needing to be paid now, they're not forgiven. So you would still have to, at some point, probably make good on car payments and bank loans and things like that. Yesterday I was watching, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on the presidential press conferences, but if you literally dig into them and watch the experts that are also brought forward, there's a tremendous amount of information beyond the couple of minutes that you might see during a nightly newscast. You can go to YouTube and just type in the presidential press conference. Most of them are an hour and a half to 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. But with that amount of time, there's a lot of very important information. I watch, at the end of the evening every day, I go on and I watch the full press conference. The president's medical experts and his financial experts, and yesterday they had the woman who's the administrator for the SBA. They're giving some very, very important information directly from the people that are making these policies. And I thought that any small business owner, the SBA has a website, sba.org, where there's a lot of information on how small businesses can tap into the payroll protection plan and other things like that. Again, whenever there's information, there's the opportunity for misinformation. I've heard a lot of crazy stories about how people can, basically take 12 weeks off from work and get 2/3 of your salary. I don't know if that's the case for every single employee, or how employers can basically send you home, furlough you, and still collect your paycheck, your full actual paycheck. I'm not sure if those are accurate, so please review that. If you're not sure about the SBA, or if you're an individual, speak to your bank, speak to your accountants. I know that, as Commissioner Smith said the other day at our meeting, banks are, you can imagine the banking industry, they're educating themselves on this very large, historic bailout, or the $2.2 trillion, which from what I've learned from the press conferences can follow up with an additional $4 trillion worth of other opportunities. That's a $6.2 trillion package the federal government is putting together. You do not want to miss out on opportunities that can help you financially protect your family. The BDB, our Business Development Board, is also fielding phone calls from businesses that are not sure about what services are available to them. So if you're a professional or a business, you do not have to feel like you're going this alone. I heard something very interesting the other day, the differentiation between social distancing and really what it's supposed to be is physical distancing. Social distancing meaning that you do not have to ignore your neighbors and your family members or people that were relying on you to check on them. Now, that doesn't mean that you should go and ring their doorbell. But I really believe that the other day I was talking about our physical health is first and foremost, but I think our mental health is right behind it. And as Ms. Ripper said about senior citizens that are especially now isolated, whether they're in facilities or even just at home, and that doesn't have to be your parents or your grandparents. It could be your neighbor. It could be someone that used to count on seeing you at a church service that now no longer gets to see you at that service. Reach out to those people. Call them on the telephone. Let them hear your voice. Let them know that you need that if they need anything. A lot of these folks have been through very dark times in their generations. However, a lot of them are very proud and won't reach out to people when they need help. I think it behooves us for us to be that first point of contact. So I would strongly ask you for senior citizens and adults. Look, this room is filled with adults, and a lot of us are struggling with financial uncertainties or just wondering what the future is going to hold for us. So please try to be patient with each other. When I say with each other, I don't just mean people you meet on the street. I mean with your family members. And I think it's very important. Some of us up here are going through this right now, whether your children are very young or teenagers or young adults. This is a completely unique situation for them as well. Sometimes, in most cases, the first time they've ever experienced anything like this in their lives. I would really urge folks to reach out to organizations, not-for-profits that are available in our community, Tykes and Teens, 211. Tragically, there's going to be an offshoot of tragedy that will come from this COVID outbreak, which is increased thoughts or actions of people taking their own lives or being very angry with each other or abusing substances that they might never have thought to do that. So please keep that in mind. Kids are at home, their lives and routines have been completely disrupted, just like ours have. So try to practice that level of patience, if you will. If you have relatives in the hospital or in facilities and you have now been barred from seeing them because they don't want the spread, Facebook and social phone calls and Google Hangout and Zoom and all these other things. I've spoken to many assisted living facilities, and they all have the technology in place at those organizations. Even if your loved one doesn't have the ability to do that, if you reach out to the assisted living facility or wherever they might be, to their administration, they might have the ability to go into the room with an iPad and allow you to have some FaceTime with a relative. Food and finances, all of our not-for-profits are working flawlessly. I mean, we've been so fortunate to have them operating for members of our community that struggle on a day-to-day basis, but now a new group has joined the ranks of people that might be struggling for food or some assistance in their finances. Reach out. If you're not sure, you can call, I'm sure, the county information lines, because there are so many not-for-profits that I don't want to start picking and choosing who they are now, but we have a huge network available for you. So again, you are not alone. And then my last two things are sort of technical, logistical questions for our administrator. Now that we have basically decided that the governor's order wants people to stay home, but there are a tremendous list of businesses and activities that are classified as essential. For instance, my other job is classified as an essential business. We manufacture equipment that's used in pharmaceuticals and food processing. My coworkers have asked me, how are they to identify themselves, not just in our county where we heard from our sheriff, but a lot of folks live in other counties and might not have the same assurance from their sheriff. How are they to identify themselves as essential employees for essential businesses? Is there going to be a letter that's necessary? Is there going to be any identifications that people can figure out what it is? Ms. Christa, if you could answer that, I think that's an important.
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. I mean, we've talked about this among ourselves, and our employees, we've communicated to them that they should have their ID on them at all times, which is their badge, obviously, which shows they're a county employee. But if I was an employer in that situation, I would provide a letter on the company's letterhead saying, this individual, Ed Campy, is a employee of this establishment, and therefore we have been defined as an essential operation, and this employee should be allowed to travel to and from work as under the governor's order, however you want to word it. And then I would make sure that that employee has that document on them at all times. As you heard from our sheriff, and you said, he would not be stopping people, but that doesn't mean folks that don't live in Martin County would not encounter that situation. So I would recommend that the businesses provide, if they don't have an ID of some sort, but it would be even better to have a letter. You could even reference the part of the Division of Emergency Management, which section you fall under, because that's broken up into healthcare, food and ag, law enforcement, public safety, et cetera, and reference that section in here. And I think the more specific an employer can be, the better for that employee.
Thank you. My next point is just to follow up on the golf course issue. That in my district, District 5, which encompasses all of Palm City, earlier this week, before the governor had put out his sort of overriding executive order, I had the opportunity to meet with the 6 courses that are not exclusively private, semi-public courses, if you will. And I think that the biggest concern that our constituents, all of our constituents had, was the massive influx of residents coming from down south and overwhelming our local facilities, our neighborhood facilities. And the 6 course operators that I spoke to felt that same stress and strain. It wasn't like, hey, look at us, we're making all this money. They understood that their infrastructure was being overwhelmed, and I had each of them had voluntarily agreed to go to an exclusive, their choice, Martin County residents only, which would then, of course, bring down the numbers. Some of the courses in the last several days had reached historic levels of rounds of golf. There's only so many folks that can go out one after the other to play golf. But if some of these organizations, now I also get a tremendous amount of phone calls from constituents and emails that say, we don't want any of it. We don't want any golf. And I think this new order, and the reason we spent so much time this morning discussing it, is I want the residents to understand that there are only certain things within our power as commissioners and as your local government. And the reason for the strong clarification on that Executive Order, Emergency Order 2092, was that even if we were to try to put some of these policies in place, we are not allowed to supersede what the governor has said. And there is a list, and I know that there was a public comment that there was a list of folks that feel that all activity should stop. That's a personal opinion. I understand that opinion that individuals would have, that the best way for us to combat this, we've all heard this, is to stay at home. It's important that you protect yourself. If you are older or have medical issues or are afraid, you need to protect yourselves. The commissioners up here in your county government do not have the ability to protect you from all of the other residents. So until we have a clearer direction of what's happening with golf courses, I want my constituents to understand that I have given the courses, and I'm sure my colleagues are doing the same thing, have given very strict recommendations to follow those very, very serious sanitary issues, but I do not have the ability to shut down golf courses with my colleagues, even if it was 3 votes. Until the governor has defined that as an issue, golf courses will remain open. So please don't think that we have somehow failed you. we are following a governmental pecking order. The federal government calls the top shots that the states have to abide by. The states call the next level that the local municipalities have to abide by. And finally, Mr. Chair, I'd want to compliment our neighbors to the north, St. Lucie and Indian River County. They are our neighbors and equal in size. I'm sure all of my commissioner colleagues have reached out to our counterparts in those counties. I've had a lot of excellent conversation. They're shared a lot of the things that they are doing in their counties that we haven't. We were originally supposed to meet this morning to discuss a different order that we were collaborating with St. Lucie and Indian River County. That's what we were going to be doing this morning until the governor changed it. So I appreciate our citizens and all of the folks that are working to help us get through this. There is still reason to be encouraged and positive about this situation. I believe that together we will make it through this. We will, hopefully sooner than later, think back on when we were going through this, and hopefully we can look back and say, I handled myself individually appropriately. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, good exchange of ideas this morning. I think that we've made good policy change direction. I know that there was some uncertainty about whether or not this meeting was going to be held. It was on, and then it was off, and then it was on, and then it was off. Ms. Ripper referred to it. My opinion all along was it's more important than ever that we have this meeting. We've given notice. Let's have it. There are going to be changes every single day. So I think that these meetings are extremely important for us to continue having. It's unfortunate that we have to meet in these circumstances, but I think that these meetings are invaluable tools for us to get our message out and to make policy changes. So I look forward. We're going to have a meeting on April 7th. And I'm sure that Ms. Christo will tell us at that time some of the changes that have been implemented. If we need to hire additional resources, by all means, let's hire them. And also for everybody out there, stay at home. Assume that every surface is contaminated and that every person around you is infected. Thank you.
Carol?
Yes, sir.
I have two things that were triggered by some of Ed's comments. One, Taryn, please do reach out to somebody for our 7th meeting to come and explain what we know or what someone knows about how this PPP thing works.
We did that, we're doing that, right? We have a presentation scheduled already. Yes, sir.
Okay, I hadn't heard that, so that's
Yeah.
great. It's just, I think, given Ed's comments, the
SBA. Small
The
Business
SBA.
The payroll
process.
protection plan and all that.
Thank you, payroll protection plan. I just think there's a lot of different ideas rolling around out there, what is and what isn't required, and so on and so forth, and I think it would be super important, like everything else we talked about this morning, to be, at least from our perspective, as crystal clear for our residents and businesses as we can be. I think that would be hugely important. And then we didn't ask, and Carol, I don't know if there's anything that we needed to know. Ed talked about who you should call and who you should check in with if there are financial issues with our nonprofits and so on. Carol, I assume that's you. I assume the United Way or the team is the group that is who people should be reaching out to. Yes, they can call our office. Can you just come up and give us like a 1 second, this is the number, this is who should be reaching out to, so that we're not confusing people as to where to go?
Actually, we want them to directly call House of Hope and Salvation Army. They can call our office and we will refer them because they're doing the case management. We are just raising the resources to get to those two agencies.
Okay, so there's two organizations.
Yep, Salvation Army and House of Hope. Rob, what's your number real quick? 286-4673. So those would be the agencies to call, and then we are funding them to do that work, to pay for the bill.
Are we still utilizing the 211? So are you encouraging people if they have
For any questions, yes, 211 or the county's emergency number, either one would work, but if they're directly for financial assistance, those are the two agencies, House of Hope and Salvation Army, that we're using to do that work.
Okay, so 211 for everything else?
Yep.
And 211 could perhaps direct them to those two agencies
Either
as
one.
well.
Yep.
They will.
So, can I talk?
One very important thing that I took from the federal press conference. If you do not have your banking information, that you get your IRS refund traditionally electronically deposited into your account, their government, you've all heard the government's getting ready to disseminate all of these financial assistance checks to everyone, whether you are financially distressed or not. They're putting out a check. They wanted to be very clear. If you do not get your tax refund directly deposited into your account, there is a website, I would Google it, I'm not sure exactly what it is, where you can register your banking information with the federal government, because that check will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and it will be directly deposited into your account. If they do not have that information from you, they will be forced to send you a paper check, which could take weeks and weeks and weeks to get. So I think it's very important that you go on to the federal website and register your banking information. They are really asking people to get that financing directly deposited into your account, and it'll be a matter of days versus weeks and weeks. Thank you.
I got to tell you, as the chair, this meeting being on again, off again, when it came back on again, I was very concerned of what we were going to talk about and how productive the meeting is going to be. I am really pleased of the progress we've made. Communication is the absolute key to keep everybody calm. That's our job, is to look out for them. I agree with every comment that's been made. As you know, I don't talk much, don't need to, because I completely agree with all of my four other commissioners with everything we discussed today, and very pleased with the outcome of what we've done. Ms. Christie, any additional?
I don't know if all your commissioners are done with their comments, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's at the end.
No, I'll just reiterate the phone number, and I'll take the blame for on again, off again,
Yeah.
because me and my team, or my team and I, we were trying to meet with each commissioner. Obviously, we can't talk in a room, so individually, the signals we get, if the clearer you can be for us, the better, but I know we're all in this together. So to go back, for any residents who have any questions, either call 211, or you can call our information line at 287-1652. We have that fully staffed. We're utilizing library personnel as well to help us answer those questions. And if we don't have the answer ready for us, we will get back to those individuals. So please utilize those resources if you have any questions. And again, thanks to all of our employees and the commissioners for their support, and our other constitutionals, particularly the sheriff. Without him, we would not be able to do our job. And our citizens, yes, our
absolutely.
citizens.
Ms. Woods, do you have anything in addition?
No, sir.
Okay. With that, our next upcoming board meeting is April 7th, and then the 21st, I suspect we'll probably have another special meeting next week sometime.
We can discuss next week. I would like to on Tuesday, if it's useful, we could go ahead and get them established and always cancel them if we already felt the need, but.
I concur.
Okay.
I think we should. With that, we are adjourned.